Welcome to Wisdom Soup. So, Wisdom Soup is a monthly meetup where we shine a light on another practitioner, someone who is coming forward to share information with us, to share their wisdom with us, to help expand us. I call it Wisdom Soup because soup is something you decide what you want to put into it. So, we open ourselves up to all different types of ideas. We expose ourselves to these different ideas, open our minds, and then you get to pick what you want to keep in your soup and what you don't. So this is an opportunity to just learn and grow for all of us, and then to introduce you to new and interesting practitioners. So, and we've been doing Wisdom Soup now for many years. It's a fabulous community, so I'm so glad you've joined us. We meet once a month. It's always the second Thursday of the month, and usually at 10 a.m. Pacific. So, and if you would like to join us next time, we usually meet over Zoom. There will be a link in the description box where you can sign up for the email list. So this month's discussion is going to be a different take on how to raise your frequency. How do you raise your frequency, especially during these times, during this enormous shift in consciousness? And so we're going to talk about how to do it through what you eat, how the things you put in your body can actually raise your frequency and help you to deal with all of these new energies. So the practitioner that we're going to be talking with today is Joliane Tremblay. And she is someone who has used food to heal herself. She had several autoimmune disorders that were really difficult early in her life. And then she learned by becoming an expert at nutrition, she learned how to use plant-based eating in order to heal herself, and surprise, opened up her spiritual gifts in the process. So I thought you guys might be really interested to hear from Joliane. So please please help me to welcome her.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Anne. I'm so excited to be here. And since we have a lot of information to cover today, a lot of crunchy information, let's just dig right in. So let me just share my screen with you. And here we go. Yay. All right, so today we're talking about plant-based eating and how it's the highest frequency that you can put on your plate and in your body, and how transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle can help you reach higher frequencies and expand your spiritual gifts. So that's where it gets super interesting. Yay. So let's go here and perfect. There's a lot of scientific evidence that a plant-based lifestyle can reduce the risk of chronic disease, reduce inflammation, and so therefore reduce pain in the body, improve overall health, and so much more. But today we are focusing on the fact that a plant-based lifestyle can raise your vibration and help you reach higher frequencies to access and utilize more of your own spiritual gifts. Yes, we are all spirits. We have a soul and we live in our body. So we all have spiritual gifts available to us. The main reasons why someone would change to a plant-based diet or plant-based lifestyle, number one is health. Number two, health reasons. Number two, environmental reasons. And number three, animal welfare. But today, we are pointing out a fourth reason, which is the fact that it can raise the frequency of your light body. So that is a new reason why we can have so many benefits from switching to a plant-based lifestyle. The more you raise your frequency, the more you heal, the more you can become more sensitive to the food that you eat. So as you go on your spiritual path and you work on these wounds and traumas and heal and raise your frequency and raise your vibration and reach higher levels, the more you become sensitive to certain foods that you used to be able to digest before, but it's very hard to digest for you now, or it's giving you some side effects, uncomfortable side effects. Yeah, I can say that. So what you used to eat no longer works for you. Why is that? And this happens because, like Einstein said, everything is energy. And therefore, when you eat animal products, which are dense and lower frequency foods, with the law of cause and effect, when you eat low frequency, you stay in a lower frequency. So that is really holding you back into going up and higher and reach more of what's available for you in terms of spiritual gifting. What is plant-based and what does that mean? The majority or entirety of our daily calories comes from plant. This means avoiding animal products or byproducts like meat, fish, dairy, and eggs. And so I'm not saying here that those who are not plant-based won't be able to use your spiritual gifts, because I'm actually aware of a lot of people that are using their spiritual gifts even though they are not eating a plant-based diet. But what happens is when you raise the frequency of the food that you eat, you actually are able to reach higher frequency, and therefore it opens up to more access to your gifting. And how do we switch to a plant-based diet? Well, it's important to be patient. You want to think long-term, and you want to keep reminding you that slow and steady wins the race, because this is not something you want to rush. The more you try to rush things, sometimes it just falls apart. And so to show you an example of that, I'm going to show you the linear example of my journey, my own journey. So it has not been always easy, but here's my journey. In 1999, fully vegetarian, that's when I decided to stop eating animals. 2012, started to eat wheat-free. Wheat was very, 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 very bad, very painful for my body. There was so much resistance to going wheat-free because even I had back then dietitian friends and nutritionist friends, and they couldn't understand the connection with wheat and my pain. And they thought it was all in my head, that when I was eating a plate of wheat, it was just like within minutes, I would start to feel like not good at all. And so, yeah, I just followed my body. 2013, started to eat no refined sugars. 2014, fully plant-based vegan. 2015, fully no coffee. And this one was a big one because I had tried to stop coffee. That was actually the third time was the charm for me. I weaned myself off coffee 3 times, but in 2015, that's when I was fully successful. And 2019 is when I switched to fully no alcohol. That one was a hard one again. I studied enology. I love wine. And although I was not consuming that much wine in the last few years, I was having alcohol. It was preventing me to heal certain parts of what needed to be healed. And I can see now how alcohol can lower your frequency. So yeah, so it took me a lot of, I've had a lot of resistance. It took me a few years, but I finally listened after a few years that my guides have been asking me. And since then, it's already been, a few years, so it's good. And I'm happy where I'm now, but it was not always easy to clean up what I was putting in my body. In 2023, I went fully gluten-free. And although I had issues with wheat, and I thought, barley is not that bad, I can eat it, and I wasn't feeling as much. I wasn't feeling pain at all. I was eating barley, and I was eating rye, and no, not rye, just barley, spelt, and some ancient grains that are very, very low in gluten. But so I was able to eat them, digest them, and not feel physical pain. But I did have some dream warnings, and they were basically showing me that I had cancer warning if I didn't stop eating gluten at all, completely. And so 2023, I went fully gluten-free. I'm like, yeah, nah, I don't want to experience cancer. I'm good. So I just got those gluten out of my life. So I spoke about some of my dreams and why I went gluten-free. Here are some signs that you could have in your dreams, why to avoid, and no, which food to avoid, and also some symbols. So if you're seeing a lot of white, or if you're seeing snow, like that would be an example to stop dairy. If you're seeing worms or bugs in your food, Anne had a great example of the time that in her dream, she had a plate of spaghetti or pasta, and then there was worm in them. So that's usually a sign. Seeing wilted or rotten food or food symbols. So in this case, I actually asked someone, she shared with me that she saw wilted sunflowers in her dreams. And therefore, that would be a sign of, avoiding sunflower seeds and sunflower oil or anything that contains sunflowers. So that could be, a sign. Rotten food, so anything that's rotten in your dream, you want to really note that down and avoid those food, even if they do look good in the next day. Sorry. Certain foods on the floor. So if you see certain food on the floor, on the grass, on dirt, or being flushed in a toilet, that is definitely food you want to avoid. In my case, I was seeing piles of grains on the floor, and that was really a sign to stop gluten completely. If you are, this one's very specific, but someone saw red meat in plastic bags stored in the kitchen cabinets. So that is a sign that you don't want to be eating raw meat. I said red meat, but raw meat, yes. Seeing food in an unappetizing way, repelling way, or gross way. So anything that looks disgusting, remember that and then note that down and stay away from those food when you are awake, because those are clear signs. If you are seeing in your dreams someone that is known for being vegan or being plant-based, if you are following vegan athletes or vegan influencers, if you are following vegan blogs or plant-based blogs and you see these people in your dreams, that can also be a sign. You can also have signs in your dreams of issues with the digestive system. So I'd like to remind you here that this information comes from Michael Sheridan and Ancient Dream Interpretation. You can follow his YouTube channel at the Dream Interpretation Podcast, and his website is dream-analysis.com. He is such a great mentor. I have been waiting in my life. I've been wishing for this man for over 15 years. And for those who follow me, or for those who have read my free ebook, which is called Finding Yourself to Heal, I'm a huge fan of Michael Sheridan and everything that he has to share. So here we have a list that comes from what he's teaching. When you see, any of these things in your dreams, that points to the digestive system, and that in the same dream, you can probably have some foods and some signs. There's things that needs to be changed, like back doors, barns, tractors, turf, tubing, bathroom, drain, sink, sewer, bowls, and here I put, in brackets, bowels, because sometimes it's very clear puns. It's the words are so close, and it's just how they get the message. So the color is orange, brown, black, and white. So if you see black and white tiles in your dreams, it will be pointing to a digestive system and also some critical thinking. So cat, slow moving animal, kitchens, kitchen table, mealtime, wood, coal, restaurant, dirt path, burial places, grave, dark passages, garbage bin, dustbin, washing machine, tights, queuing up, standing up in line or a line of people, a shopping cart, and paper, plaster coming off wall, so wallpaper, plaster coming off wall. These are signs that there are current issues with your digestive system. And that'd be interesting to look at what it is exactly. Now, I highly, highly recommend, if you have not looked into anything about Michael Sheridan's work, to look into dream interpretation, because that is such a wonderful, wonderful modality to learn more about your spiritual gifting and what's stopping you from being able to use your spiritual gifts. And like I said, Michael Sheridan is someone that I highly recommend learning from. And so, yes, here, let's talk about some rules. I have some golden rules when it comes to transitioning to a plant-based diet. And the number one, I'd say, it's important to focus on what feels right for you and not to compare. I shared earlier about my journey and a little bit of a linear way of how things happen when what. It's important to really focus on where you are now and what feels right for you, what feels aligned. You really want to follow your inner guidance and your intuition and your own authority. Number two, you are exactly at the right place in your journey. Trust in divine timing. Number three, slow and steady wins the race. And so this is super, I've mentioned it before. You want to have in terms of timing, in terms of rushing things, never turns out well. So this is not something you want to rush. It's something you want to, take a slow and steady, consistent pace, move forward with that pace, and trust in that divine timing, because the angels, they are guiding you. And this is part of your spiritual journey. This is part of your path. Number four, mistakes happens. And here, I can recall a few times where I've made mistakes. Like, yeah, we're not even talking about life mistakes here. We're talking about some food mistakes, things that I was not supposed to eat or drink, things that I weren't aligned with what my body needed. And so sometimes mistakes happen. I could be going somewhere to an event, I'd be eating something that contains stuff that I'm not supposed to be eating. Now, it's important not to beat yourself up. Learn not to be hard on yourself. I had to learn not to be hard on myself, and that was a big, big lesson. Don't be hard on yourself. Mistakes happen. Breathe, accept, trust, and move forward. That's the best thing you can do, because if you stay in that moment in terms of guilt, shame, and just feeling sorry for yourself, this is where you get stuck in these lower frequencies, and you're not moving forward when you get stuck there. You don't want to be stuck there. So breathe, accept, trust, and move forward. Push through it. The best way to approach this lifestyle change is to be flexible. Be flexible. When you are flexible, you can bend. When you are rigid, you will break. Sometimes life can be challenging, and when it gets challenging, you have to adjust and adapt, and that's where being flexible really pays off, because of breaking down being the other option. Pitfall number one, going to events, eating out, or being in a non-plant-based environment. So this is something that people can struggle with. And my tip with that would be flexible and prepare in advance when possible. If you're going to an event, email the host, confirm that, is there certain food options or dietary restrictions, some food included in there. You want to say, listen, these are the things I eat, these are the things I don't eat, or whatever, how you want to do that. But it's important so that you ask, do I have to bring something? Is there going to be food for me there? And they might have to go back and forth with the chef to see if the chef can do something for you. But that's very important to do because you don't want to get to that event and the only thing you can have is to drink water, which I do have friends that do that way. I like to plan in advance and making sure that there will be food for me there. And if I have to, I'll just bring a backup plan with a bag that has some food and snacks in there so that I'm not there starving watching other people eat. If you're eating out, you can check out restaurants and their menus. You can email the restaurant before, you can call a restaurant before. It does take some work, but it will make it easier in the long run. So sometimes being in a plant-based environment, non-plant-based environment is challenging. So you want to be able to prepare yourself as much as possible. I mean, it would be so easy if you're going somewhere, everyone's plant-based, everyone's eating clean, and you don't have to worry about anything. That would be easier. But look at what's the most beneficial for you right now with the environment you have and to deal with that. And I think anything is possible when you are prepared. When you are prepared. So let's talk about frequency of food. I believe here it's important to experience with food because different foods will have different frequencies. And just like any botanicals, so if you're familiar with the Bach flower remedies, which are the homeopathic of specific flowers, have specific frequencies that neutralize lower frequency emotions. So when you're feeling anxiety, when you're feeling anger, grief, and all these things, you can have those little drops of flower essences in your water, and that will shift the frequency and kind of help to neutralize. So it's a little bit similar. So instead of just looking at flower remedies, when you really need them, let's just look at every day. The food that you put inside of you has a specific frequency, and that specific frequency can help you or can make your life heavier and denser and or you can have the higher frequency food that can propel you forward on your spiritual path. So every single thing that you put in your plate, that you put in your mouth, that you put in your drink, it will have a frequency and it will have an impact on your spiritual journey. So be open and curious. Start to become more aware of the frequency of certain foods around you and how it has a physical impact, but also an energy impact. Focus on being plant-based, and from there, oscillate between lighter and heavier plant-based foods. I like to share that, I'm eating plant-based for over 10 years now. I do go through, same as other people, where I go through birthdays and I go to my daughter's birthday and it's not because that there's a birthday that I have to avoid or not avoid, that I have to not eat cake. The expression, let's have the cake and eat it too. So that's where every year I make sure that we have gluten-free, plant-based vegan cakes that are not filled with food coloring or refined sugars or anything that would be toxic. So sometimes these are heavier plant-based foods. They might not be there for the nutritional aspect of it. I mean, I'm not eating birthday cake for specific nutrition benefits, but you want to enjoy life as well. And so that's where you want to find the balance. And in that balance of going through life, there's going to be lighter and heavier plant-based foods. So experience with that. What's the difference of frequency or energy between an apple and a plant-based, gluten-free, vegan pizza? Like, there's going to be a huge difference. Of course, they're gonna be nutritionally different, with different nutritional profiles, but life still happens, and you want to go through life in a holistic and balanced way and eat the foods that feel right for you, but also not deprive yourself from happy party foods. We all go through life, and let's enjoy it too. So become more aware of the frequency of your food. What do you have in front of you, and how is this food supporting you on your path, and how does this food make you feel? Here I want to talk more about fruit. How fruit is one of the highest frequency foods. And actually I have a whole page for fruit. So the frequency of fruit can shift the energy of your body fast. Fruit can be astringent and pull toxins out while also carrying everything out with the fiber and the water that contains in fruit. And all fresh, raw, ripe fruits are alkalizing. So when we talk about plant-based eating, in general, it's mostly alkalizing. If we compare to the Southern American diet, where, meat, fish, eggs, dairy, this is acid forming or mucus forming. And in the plant-based realm, we're looking at mostly alkalizing food. But fruit is on the top there, where, even if we talk about lemons or citrus fruit or any fruit that tastes acidic, all fresh, raw, ripe fruits, all alkalizing. So even the lemon can be alkali or is alkalizing. What happens is when you do eat the citrus fruit or the lemon, it tastes acidic, but when you digest it, it creates an alkalizing ash. Whereas if we eat some bread, for example, bread will be tasting sweet in your mouth, but when you digest it, it creates an acid ash. So it will affect the pH of your body differently, but it's not by the taste. It's not because it tastes acidic that it will be acidic in your body. And it's not because it tastes sweet that it won't have the inflammation that comes with it. Fruit is the easiest and quickest food to digest. So it's the least energy taxing food. If we talk about any of the spiritual stuff, the higher you go, the more it takes some of that energy, or the more energy you need. So you want to spend less energy into your digestive system and digestive tract. And when you free up that space in the digestive tract, the more you can go up higher into spiritually what you can do. So that's where fruit is the easiest and quickest food to digest, therefore giving you more space, more free energy to go up high, while giving you all the essential amino acids, fatty acids, minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, phytochemicals, and bioflavonoids that your body can thrive on. And so here, the reason I list these is because I'm usually more micronutrient focused instead of macronutrients focused, because if you look into a lot of the nutritional information, and if you speak to or anything that relates to nutrition, basically they will mostly focus on carbohydrates and fats and proteins, because these are the three macronutrients. But when you look at macronutrients, it's just a little bit of information, because where the juicy stuff is, it's in the micronutrients. When we talk about vitamins, mineral, antioxidants, phytochemicals, bioflavonoid that your body can thrive on, this is what makes the magic happen in your body. Because when you eat certain foods, for example, if you compare 50 grams of carbohydrate coming from fruit that will have all these micronutrients, and you compare it to 50 grams of carbohydrate coming from bread, you will not be having the same thing in there, but they're both 50 grams of carbohydrates. So that's why it's super important to look into the quality of the food that you're eating. When it comes to essential amino acids, that's what you need to build the protein blocks. It says, actually, that's the opposite. That's you grab the protein blocks and it breaks down into amino acids, and your body needs the amino acids. So that's the protein that comes from fruit. Fatty acids there are fatty acids in fruit, and a lot of people, they focus, healthy fats, and they look at, certain things. Yes, we all know avocado and coconut has a lot of fatty acids, but if we look at other fruits, if we look at the omega-3 fatty acid, a lot of marketing will be pushing fish oil and, omega-3s, get your omega-3s, blah, blah, blah. The thing is, there's a lot of plant-based food that contain omega-3s, and, there's just no marketing for that part. But blueberries, cantaloupe, lentils, leafy greens, and there's a long list of plant-based sources of omega-3s. And so that's the part where it's very interesting, because fruit will be having everything that you need. Depending on where the fruit grows, so a vine, shrub, plant, or tree, the higher the fruit is, it will have the capacity to hold a higher frequency. So Anne shared that the angels came to her showing her a nectarine, and how the nectarine was holding the frequency of joy. And so the nectarine, it grows on a tree. So because the tree is up higher, it can hold a higher frequency, and therefore frequency of joy is in the highest frequency. If we compare it to fruits that are lower in terms, physically, they will still be a high frequency food, but in between all the fruits and vegetables that you have, they all hold a different frequency. And that's where it's super interesting to kind of look into those specific foods. When you are eating fruit, you are eating the sun, you are eating the light. So this is where it gets super interesting. I have a super, super out of the ordinary story to share. This is, at one point I had a neighbor that came and knocked on my door, and he's like, hey, I have this plum tree in my backyard. It's full of ripe fruit, and I've taken some plums out of it, and I have family and friends that came to pick some plums, but there's still so much plum. Do you want to come and pick your own plums? And I'm like, sure. So I climbed up the ladder and I went and picked some fruit in his tree. And that experience brought me so much joy. Like I was such in a good place. It was a very, joy, a very high frequency emotion. And the whole experience was intense. Like I could feel the energy of the tree. I could feel the energy of the fruit, and it was very, very high. And I was so connected with the tree. Like I was high in terms of, when people, they think about, high on drugs, like I was feeling so high from just being in this tree and feeling the tree's energy, and the fruit's energy was such a wonderful experience. I was really connected with the tree. And I was connected with all that is. I started to feel connected, fully connected. I felt one with the universe. And that was such a beautiful experience. This is not the kind of experience that you can have, will have every day. But to experience this, it's to really experience the frequency of things around you, frequency of the food around you, the frequency of trees. And so when you are curious, open, and connected, you can get so much juicy stuff. My suggestion is to experiment and tune in and connect with different foods. Start with what you have in front of you. And if you have the ability to feel things, to channel, or to use, or to, you know, how to use a pendulum, use that, and you can measure the frequency of your food. So, you know, just as an experiment, you know, grab a few things, a few fruits and vegetables in your home, and whatever food you have, and tune in and measure the frequency of your food, and then write it down, you know, just for fun. If you know how to use a pendulum, I have, you know, I have made an example. I have this sheet of paper, which I just, you know, use like a dial from 0 to 18,000. And then you will basically just put that sheet down, and you will grab a pendulum. Now, I haven't used this in many, many years because now I channel. And when you use this on top of your sheet, you can be holding the apple in your hand, and as you go over that dial and see like what's the frequency of this apple. And so that is quite interesting. Like I said, this is really for fun purposes. Curious. Just be curious. Now, not every apple has the exact same frequency. And therefore, you know, let's compare apples to apples here. The highest frequency apple grows on a little farm, and it's grown with organic or biodynamic methods. The owners and the workers have a positive energy, and that positive energy ripples back into the orchard. And just to add a little side note here, if you haven't checked, there was this experiment where people have charged the water with specific feelings and emotions, and it changes the structure of the water, and it's so interesting. You can probably Google that and find the different frequency that people charge the water with. It just shows you how the energy and the emotions that you're feeling, it kind of ripples out into the universe and the things around you, and you can charge an apple orchard. You can charge the apple when you're walking through the apple orchard, or, you know, around you without being aware of it. All right, so in the highest frequency apple, it's picked ripe, and it's eaten in the freshest form. And so that is like the highest frequency apple. Now let's compare it to the lowest frequency apple. It grows on a very large commercial orchard. It follows conventional agriculture, which contains pesticide, fungicide, and any chemicals that you can add there to increase the yields by square footage of profit. And so sadly, you know, and I say conventional agriculture is because that is the modern agriculture for the last 100 years, or not even the last 75 years. And so the pesticide, fungicide, and insecticide, and all these things, so that you're protecting your crops and you're increasing your profit per square footage. And sadly, there's, you know, some chemical residues there that will be affecting your body, and they hold a lower frequency. Employees have a negative state of mind in the farm where the lowest frequency apple grows. They, you know, the owners are focused on profits. They are feeling like they are exploited. They don't feel like they're paid fairly. They don't feel respected. They're really feeling like they're taken advantage of. And so these employees will be in a, you know, negative state of mind, and that will have that negative wave of frequency throughout the orchards. And so, yeah, so let's talk about the lower frequency apple. They are picked early because they have a long journey ahead. Sometimes they travel so far, they go across oceans, and they travel through, weeks. And then when they get, sorry, in the right area, they sit in the distribution center, and then they end up at the store on the shelves for a little while. And by the way, to open up another bracket here, like think about when you walk into a grocery store. Like, have you ever seen employees, they just, happy, chirpy, and just singing and just placing the apples and then just like living a good experience. Whereas if you go to a grocery store and the people just, employees there just stacking the apples or throwing the bags of apple and just like, I can't get or can't wait to my shift's over, blah, blah, blah. So the the energy of the people who are handling the food will have imprint on the food, or could have an imprint on food, I should say. And so let's talk about this apple. Sitting in the distribution center, she's on the shelf now for a little while. And now the apple is sitting in someone's back of the fridge somewhere and ends up cooked with loads of butter, sugar, and flour, which by now it's no longer a high frequency food. So see here how it's very extreme, to give you an idea, to paint a little picture so that you have a better an understanding that two apples will not have the same frequency. Now, sometimes it's better to still eat conventional food than others. To give an example again, if you are at an amusement park and there's, a cart that has cotton candy and it has some donuts and apples, if you're hungry, eating the apple will be the best option. The apple might be a conventional food, but it's still a better choice than the cotton candy and the donuts or the whatever junk food they have. Now, if you are eating or buying conventional food, there are things that you can do. First thing is get your Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 list, because every year they usually test different fruits and vegetables and they see which one has the most chemical compounds or pesticide left that we can detect in the fruit or the vegetable. And usually in the Dirty Dozen list, you can see apples there, you can see strawberries there, you can see leafy greens in there, which are and tomatoes there. These are the things that usually have the most pesticide or chemical residues. Whereas the Clean 15, even though you buy it conventional, they're ranking lower in terms of chemical compounds. So if you look at avocados, citrus fruit, if you look at cabbage families, so cauliflowers and any cabbages, these usually rank in the Clean 15 list, so that even if it's conventional food, they won't have as much chemical residues. And so if you know this information, if you are buying strawberries and avocados, I'd rather buy organic strawberries with conventional avocados than buying conventional avocados, organic avocados with conventional strawberries, so that you buy the ones that have the least chemical compounds in them. Number 2 is soak in baking soda to remove chemical compounds. And so so it's recommended to use 2 teaspoons of baking soda in about a liter of water. And you want to soak them. So 1 liter of water is about 4 cups. So you want to soak them for, a minimum of 30 seconds to a few minutes. It doesn't really take that long. And this can actually make a huge difference. If you are buying, so fruits and vegetables, you can do this soaking method, but I highly, highly, highly recommend to use hot water. to remove the wax, because even organic apples will have wax on it. There are certain wax that are still tolerated in the organic methods, because if you think about it, so let's say you grab an apple, or organic apple, you run it underneath hot water, it gets the wax off, then you can smell the apple and it smells so fragrant. But before you rinsed it with the hot water, you don't smell anything, because it's like the wax is protecting the fruit from insects and animals that could be potentially eating that fruit. And I guess it has many purposes, but it's, like I said, even tolerated in organic farming. So you want to rinse your fruits and vegetables in hot water to remove the wax, or soak them at the same time in baking soda in the hot water, and that will get, you're doing step 2 and 3 at the same time. The only thing is, I separate those steps 2 and 3, because if you're doing leafy greens, and so if you're washing lettuce, you want to soak them in baking soda with cold water, because the lettuce is not going to do well with hot water. So yeah, now you get the idea when it comes to conventional food, but there are ways that you can shift the frequency of the food before you eat. So if you're at the amusement park, if you're at someone's home, at an event or at a restaurant, and they put a plate of food in front of you, you don't know, necessarily if it's conventional food, organic food, whatever it is, but you don't know who has handled the food and stuff. So I highly recommend to shift the energy of the food before you eat it. I'm going to share a technique that I use, and first of all, is to ground myself. So I would say start with a grounding breath. So, you're sitting at your kitchen, you're sitting at your table, and you have the fruit in front of you. Ground yourself, take a nice deep breath. Bring all your awareness now into the present. And then by grounding, first of all, it helps to, if you have been in high emotions, feeling, the rainbow of emotions, just grounding and taking that grounding breath will be bringing you back into present, and that will be helpful in not only clearing the food that you eat, but not creating any intolerances to the food that you eat. So ground yourself, then connect and ask the angels to clear your food of any lower frequencies and rebalance its chemistry for your highest good. It doesn't matter if you cannot hear the angels back. They will hear you and they will assist. This is a very, 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 very simple yet powerful technique. You can do this anytime, anything that you eat, anything that you drink. Now, I did mention about that part, how it's beneficial for the food, but it's also beneficial for long term, because like I mentioned earlier, if you're sitting and you're feeling extremely anxious or feeling very not in a good place, let's just put it that way, and you eat certain food, your body would associate those foods with the emotions linked, and that can create intolerances in the future. So at some point, I was intolerant to tofu and soy, tofu, and then I was able to clear that intolerance, because tofu or soy doesn't have generally a negative impact on your physical health. So I wanted to remove that intolerances out of my body. The angels have recommended a general diet free of meat, fish, dairy, eggs, wheat, caffeine, alcohol, and refined sugars. So I know that's a lot. It's a long list for those who are coming from the standard American diet, but it's really important to take this slowly. Like I mentioned, slow and steady wins the race. The angels are always recommending to eat more leafy greens. So that's something that, you know, you can eat a pound of leafy green a day, no problem at all. The angels are always recommending us to eat more leafy greens. While this might be a challenge to follow this angelic protocol, I invite you to look at it like a practice. So just like yoga, or when you start using your spiritual gifts, every bit of effort helps. It's really important to really look at when you start practicing yoga, you don't expect to be a yogi on day one. You don't expect to be able to master every posture. You want to really practice, and some days, some yoga positions are easier than other days, and that's the practice of yoga. So in this protocol or challenge, I would say to be aligned with the angelic realm, you want to also do it in a way that is that feels right for you, but is a more permanent or steps in the right direction instead of, you know, full throttle stop, which will have a different impact. Pitfall number 2. It's too overwhelming. Start with what's doable for you. It's really important because if you try to cut everything at once, like I said, in my linear journey, it was one thing at a time because everything at once was not doable for me. And it could be doable for some people, but I'd say it's usually not the case. So start with what's doable for you. Start with what's the easiest in that list. What's the easiest for you to cut out? And then start from there. Take steps in the right direction, but keep moving forward and you will have better results. There's a lot of contradictive information out there when it comes to nutrition. And it's really important there to follow what feels right for you. But also, I like to follow, when it comes to plant-based eating, there's a lot of research that has shown that a plant-based diet or that a diet rich in fruits and vegetables, if you look at what's it called, the blue zones, where the people are the healthiest or where the people live the longest, like these places, it's a diet that is rich in fruits and vegetables. Most of the calories are coming from fruits and vegetables. And this is, you know, this has been proven over and over and over again. Now, in terms of there was once this question of I was gonna say this question about the blood type theory, and I would say first we talk about fruits, vegetables being the highest frequency, but also what helps humans to be in the healthiest state. Then if we look at a person's, so I will follow the science when it comes to general, then of course the angelic guidance. And third, I will be looking at someone's field. So in the coaching program, I can really tune into someone's field and say, okay, what does this physical body need right now? And what does this person needs, or what does this person need to, you know, focus on? And I will be getting more answer energetically than getting or if I channel, then getting information from the blood type theory. So this is where, you know, I know there's a lot of information out there. So it can get confusing. Pitfall number 3, fears and worries that you won't get all the nutrients that your body needs. And that's why I'm saying start taking a B12 vitamin supplement right now. And I'm not saying, you know, B12 supplement multivitamin that, you know, a multivitamin that has a B12 in it. I'm saying take a standalone B12 supplements now. The B12, thankfully, is the vitamins that you cannot overdo. So whenever you're taking, you know, more than you need, the body is just going to expel it out through the urine. It's a water soluble vitamin. Anyone, no matter what you're eating, could be B12 deficient because B12 doesn't come naturally in the foods. B12 comes from dirt. So, you know, back in the day, thousands of years ago, when people used to just grab food and eat it straight off the ground, they'd be eating some dirt in it with it. And that's where the B12 is. So since now we're a super clean society, we clean our food, therefore we're not getting B12 from the food. People that do eat meat will usually get more B12 because the farmers will be injecting the livestock with B12 vitamins so that the meat contains B12, but it doesn't come naturally. So I say start taking B12 now, and there, you know, follow the recommendation on the bottle or on which one you're using, because some are to take daily, some are to take weekly, some are to take monthly, depending on the dosage. But I would say that's the thing, because a lot of people, even people that eat a lot of meat, can be B12 deficient. That's possible as well. The famous question, where do you get your protein, and how to make sure that you have enough. So the plant-based protein is actually going to be discussed in depth in the 3 months coaching program that I'll be discussing more about very soon. But to answer and to give you the simplest answer, is that your body actually needs amino acids. And all plant foods contain amino acids, which are more bioavailable than protein. So there will be amino acids in potatoes, in quinoa. There's, you know, amino acids in all the fruits and vegetables. And when you're eating these foods, you are getting all the amino acids that you need. Now, we'll be discussing further about the protein in the program, but basically, if you're eating protein from chicken, for example, if your source of protein is chicken, your body would have to take the protein blocks and to convert them and to separate them into the amino acids for your body to be able to utilize them. And so in that conversion, there's a lot of loss, and that's why people, they focus so much on eating proteins. But when you're actually eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, you're getting all the amino acids that you need. Again, we'll be talking about more about this in the program. Pitfall number 4, when you feel under the weather, you go back to junk food or childhood favorite. My tip for that is to make a list of your favorite meals and foods, and make a list. Everything that you eat on special occasions, what do you want to have on your birthday dinner? These are the foods that you want to find a plant-based alternative. So if mac and cheese is your go-to when you feel down or when you feel crappy, you want to have a plant-based mac and cheese recipe on hand. You want to have a plant-based mac and cheese go-to fix. You want to know which restaurants you can get that fix, which, you know, if you can buy them at the store, whatever you feel that you need, because that is a pitfall. A lot of people, they'll just break down, you know, sometimes life gets challenging and they want these foods. I know it's not, you know, it's these things that make you feel comfort. And so healing is not linear. There are going to be ups and downs, and you want to be prepared You want to be prepared for when you get into the low parts of your journey, when it gets difficult, when it gets challenging, so that you don't go back to the foods that makes you feel even worse. So if mac and cheese is what you need when you feel horrible, when you feel down, when you feel crappy, whatever, then make sure that you know where you can get that fixed, but the plant-based version, which will not affect you as much as if you were eating the real dairy, which will be acid forming, mucus forming, and really creating more inflammation in your body. So the healthier version. Pitfall number 5, there isn't much variety or it doesn't taste good. Tip, make a list of your 5 favorite fruits and 5 favorite vegetables. Make sure you have those on hands. Focus on the food that makes you happy. Make sure that you find the recipes of the meals that you love the best. Get creative. Like, there's so many ways to make vegan bacon, for example. If you are craving, if you want to make a gourmet meal and you want to have that bacony taste, there are so many healthy ways to do that. There are so many, I can't even list them here. But that's where it gets fun, because you can really get creative and play in a positive way, have fun, and then eat the food that makes you feel good at the same time. It does take effort to get out of your autopilot. You are on autopilot. You have been on autopilot. And this is, to get out of autopilot, it takes effort, but you will experience great rewards by doing so. It will make a huge impact on your physical body, but also on your spiritual capacities and spiritual connections, spiritual gifts. Like, it will make a huge impact. What are the next steps? For those who'd like guidance and coaching throughout this transitional process, for those who have many warnings in their dreams about certain foods they need to stop eating, for those who have been feeling the inner push but have been struggling to sustain it, so they've been trying plant-based on and off, for those who asked their spiritual guides for help in transitioning to a more plant-based lifestyle, well, I have created a plant-based coaching program. It's a 3-month group coaching program. And in 12 weeks, you'll have transitioned to a fully plant-based lifestyle that is right for you, where you'll feel balanced. You will have the confidence to keep going plant strong, and you will feel more comfortable in your body. You will feel lighter and more energized as we bring more life into your plate. You will open up your opportunities and be able to reach higher frequencies, which will support you on your spiritual journey. So specifically for the Wisdom Soup community, here are some links. For the group coaching program, we start on September 9. In there, it's a group coaching program, but you also get the community assistance. We'll help each other go through everything, but I'll also be there to give you one-on-one tip through the group coaching program. If you have questions in that program, it will also help others, and others' questions will help you, which is super powerful, because sometimes you just need that motivation of other people going through these things with you. So I invite you to check out the link, joliannetremblay.com/plant-based wisdom. With this link, you have a specific discount, like this special offer. So if you go on my website, it will not be the same pricing. This is the pricing for for the Wisdom Soup community. If you would like to look at more things than being plant-based, or even just going through the plant-based transition, but you'd like a more personalized, one-on-one private coaching program, you can go to joliannetremblay.com/wisdom offer. So we can look into whatever you need and get that into the coaching program. So it doesn't have to be plant-based necessary, but if you feel that you are aligned with the work that I do and you need help or assistance on your journey, I'd be happy to discuss that with you. The special offer is at joliannetremblay.com/wisdom_offer. So this is special pricing for the Wisdom Soup community. If you have any questions about these programs or a question to ask me, you can reach me at joliannetremblay.com/connection call. So we can get on a call and discuss possibilities for you, opportunities, programs, anything. If you have questions about how what's going on and what you need help with. Now, if you have specific questions about what we've discussed today, if you'd like to share some of your personal experience, I invite you to comment below this video, and we'll be going through the comments as well. So with this, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day and hope to talk to you soon. Bye.